how you see this budget will help the Kingstonian to deal with the current challenges we have.
Sure, yeah. So I mean, a lot of previous budgets, like I mean, there's always a target, right? So I mean, whether you say it's 2.5% or something, we're always trying to recognize we got to live within our means, right? So when we say we have 1% for infrastructure, and then there's another 1.5% for wage growth and all the other pressures that are there, you get to your 2.5%. And I think what sort of happens over time is even if you hit that target, you're still slowly sliding backwards. So as Councillor Ridge mentioned, the asset management program was brought in by the province, and it required municipalities to have that. So you got to do an inventory, you got to look at everything that you have, and then you have to come up not like with a plan, and then you have to put a dollar value to that plan. And you kind of have to say, this is going to cost whatever it is, $350+ million over X number of years to bring these up to snuff. And so one of the challenges here is we're now required to do that by the province, but obviously it puts pressure on our budget as well. As was mentioned before, the police budget definitely put a lot of external pressure on this. What I think I really want people to understand in the audience is the fact that we only control the municipal side of things. So we don't control external agencies like CRTC, the police budget, a lot of those external agencies, which usually account for almost 40% of the overall city budget. So with that, you can have a target, but you can't control it. The Police Services Board brought in 13+%, and a lot of that was driven by backdating wages because they didn't have a contract for 2 or 3 years. So some of these things, you can be quite frustrated as a councillor because you have zero control over them, really. So I mean, we have a couple representatives on the police services boards, but those needs are those needs. And even in questioning the police chief, what are our options? Bring in OPP, who oftentimes are higher than local police forces, or maybe regionalize the police, right? So there's a lot of struggles and frustrations when you're on this side of the table. And when you're looking at that with past budgets, we did have a lot of pressures, but now wage growth is a big pressure because obviously inflation was a big pressure. So now people are trying to sort of demand that their wages keep up so they can maintain their quality of life. So it's becoming almost impossible to balance all that and maintain that, which on the other hand, then you have taxpayers who are gonna sort of foot the bill for that growth. I can't remember the exact number. It's a couple $100 or plus, or maybe $300-400. It's gonna
$244 a year, so around $20 a month.
Yeah, so $20 a month to everybody's tax bill. And I mean, when you hear the overall increase, I understand that people are frustrated because you're seeing increases at municipal level, provincial, federal. Cost of food's going up. Like nothing is getting more affordable out there, right? So it's a very frustrating thing. This budget, I would say, was definitely probably more of a shock when those external agencies came in, especially with the strong mayor powers. He can direct the municipality, but those do not flow through to the external agencies. So, you know, the mayor can only kind of say, hey, we're targeting 2.5%, but he can't enforce that on external agencies. And then the other frustration is when you do hear their justification. For instance, library board or anybody else coming in, it all sounds great. If you want an expansion of services, we have to put money into the budget. So it's kind of balancing that. And I think at some point we're going to have to get to the point where we're going to have to really look at what do we need to do as a municipality and maybe dial back into what that is. People never want to lose services or anything like that, but at the same time, if we can't maintain our roads and our infrastructure, we're not doing the bare minimum of really what we're collecting those tax dollars for. So there may come, and this came up at budget, there's going to come a day of reckoning where we're really going to have to go, we've cast the net this wide and we're in all these different things and we're kind of failing at most of them, or we don't have enough money to do them all. And at some point we're going to maybe have to dial that back in and go, what are the basic services we as a municipal council really need to provide? We've got a lot of good initiatives where we're trying to help with family doctors, which realistically belongs to the province, and obviously the feds can have influence there as well. You've got food insecurity. So we're trying to sort of bandage a lot of these problems that are coming from the higher levels of government. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, we as a city don't have the resources to continually do that, right? So we need the other levels of government to truly step in and start kind of taking their responsibilities away from us so that we can manage what our responsibilities are.
Just to hop on that. So when we talk about the size of the budget for the city, right? This one is approximately $500 million. It's a bit larger than that. The operating budget for the hospital is over $680 million per year. So that just gives you an idea of how, when we're talking about taking on provincial responsibilities, such as healthcare or looking at those options, just how costly they actually are and how meager our resources are in the large picture when it comes to addressing systemic problems that the province should be addressing.